following opinions are solely those of BoatTest.com and its test captain.
Hi, Captain Steve for BoatTest.com, and today I'm on a luxury yacht that focuses on ease of operation, making it ideal for an owner-operator. It's the Bravo 72 from Cheoy Lee. Join me as I do a full sea trial.
We'll start with the Flying Bridge helm. It's a center-mounted console with twin 17-inch displays that are part of the Volvo Penta glass dash. The compass is in the middle of the two. Below and to the left, there's a stereo, the track stabilizer control panel, and rocker switches with VHF below. To the opposite side are the IPS joystick, the digital engine controls with its host of features, a second VHF. Just above is a multi-data display and the windlass control. The steering wheel is vertically mounted and on a tilt base. To both sides there are conveniently located grab rails with counter space ahead and storage underneath. Two STID helm seats accommodate the captain and observer. There's a smoked windscreen supported by stainless steel wrapping around and narrowing towards the back. All antennas are supported by the overhead hardtop.
Now the lower helm is a pod style with two 12-inch displays linked to the Volvo Penta glass dash. So we have the engines, the drives, the instrumentation, all one phone call to Volvo Penta. In the center we've got a Garmin multifunction display. Just below that, the CZone touch panel that gives us touchscreen control of all the ship's electrical system. And then below that, the control panel for the track stabilizers. On the lower panel, windshield wiper controls, remote control spotlight, VHF, the ignitions, rocker switches, compass, control for the windlass, the IPS joystick, and the digital engine controls. And again to the lower panel, a second VHF, air systems control, and generator panels. The steering wheel is mounted to a tilt base. I like how both consoles are soft touch material so there's no glare whatsoever. The helm seat is from STID, upholstered in ultra leather, has flip-up armrest, it reclines, swivels, slides, and adjusts up and down. Also has a flip-down footrest. And also notice how the helm is mounted just to the right of the center line so that we still have great visibility. 1, 2, 3, 4 windshields giving us our visibility out the front. Big mullions, yeah, they are blocking our visibility a little bit, but more often than not, we're probably going to be operating from the Flybridge home station. Now, of course, we have electrical switches on all the bulkheads, plus the entire boat can be controlled from the CZone touchpad at the helm, and the main electrical panel is right in this cabinet.
A bilge pump control panel is at the companionway to starboard. Also to starboard is a watertight door providing easy access to the side deck, and as with all opening port lights on board, this door sends a signal to the helms when opened.
To the port hand side of the aft deck, there's an additional joystick operating station. Now the engine room is accessed from two locations, the crew quarters on the side or right here at the transom. Let's take a look. Well, talk about an open and airy compartment. There's plenty of room for walking around this engine room, plus you've got nice high overhead. The focal point, of course, the IPS 1050 800 horsepower Volvo Penta engines. The pods are directly connected, no need for jack shafts. Looking around, starting in the corner, we've got an air compressor for the horn, the ISO boost, which is giving us clean power throughout the boat. All our air conditioning is located in one spot, fuel polisher just below that. Just ahead, twin generators to either side, 23 kW each. Now, there's an interesting story that goes with how these are powered up. You disconnect from shore power, the boat goes dark. You light up one generator, the other one automatically lights up, and then the system automatically determines the load needed to power the boat systems. One generator will come online, or two generators will come online, depending on that load. Now, at the end of the day, when it comes time for putting the hairdryer, the washer, the dryer, the dishwasher, all those systems come online, the next generator automatically powers up and then comes online to power up the boat. When we power those systems back down again, the generator comes offline again. When the systems revert back to normal again, then one of the generators comes offline and the one with the lowest hours again becomes the primary. And it all happens seamlessly. You don't have to do anything. Now in this position we also have the fuel filters, two for the mains, one for each of the generators. No sight tube in sight for the fuel tanks. That's because the single fuel tank is located right below deck level. Now when it comes time to fuel the boat, fuel fill is over to the side, and notice there's a sight tube in the middle of it so that when the fuel starts to get up to the point where it reaches the vents, we can see it. So the ideal scenario is you've got one person outside on the fuel fill, the other in here taking a watch. Notice how all of the drains on board lead to one through-hole fitting. Limiting the number of through-hole fittings is a serious consideration with Cheoy. We have a sea chest located right on the center line, and all of the water is drawn from that with sea strainers, including the two for the main engines. Notice how they're clearly labeled right above, and all through-hole fittings are bonded for active corrosion protection. The fire suppression system, there are 4 activation units around the engine room. Hit one of them and they all activate. Over to the starboard side, the hydraulic tank for the active fin stabilizers and the pump that's electric over hydraulic, so we don't need any engines running for the zero-speed stabilizers. Empty shelf is for the optional water maker. And we have the Delta T vents that filter salt air before it enters the engine room. Back at the entry, we've got the single cord rail for the 100 amp short cord. Straight ahead, we have the entrance to the crew quarters, which can also be accessed, as I said, from the port hand side. Let's take a look. Well, this is quite comfortable for crew quarters. Plenty of room, high overhead, single berth with storage underneath, hanging locker, bit of a food prep area just to the side with a microwave, open counter space. Storage underneath can be optioned out for a refrigerator, and just to the side, a pocket door gives us access to the head. The head has a separate walk-in shower with a glass door, sink, storage cabinet behind mirrored doors, hull side window providing natural light, and underneath the sink there's an interesting feature. Here we've got storage with an acrylic back that gives us a clear sight line to the track stabilizers. There's another one just like this underneath the berth so we can visually check them. To the port side we have access stairs to the side deck. Now between the engine room and the crew quarters there seems to be a theme of open space on this boat, and that obviously continues on the side rails. Look at this, 26-inch wide side decks, 38-inch high rails. Let's take a look at the bow. Additionally, on the port side decks there's the water fill forward and the fuel fill to the stern. This fuel fill also has a high level alarm, so while we have the sight glass in the engine room, we also have this alarm as a backup. Now as we continue forward, the first thing I notice is there are no steps to the side deck. It's a single level all the way to the bow. The cleats are nestled into the bulwark, so there's no need for chafing gear. And now let's take a look at the ground tackle. There's a Maxwell windlass, an all-chain rod with a chain stopper, stainless steel plate at the bottom of the deck. Through the stem anchor roller, cleats again in the bulwarks to both sides, full control switches, and take a look inside here. We've got road access, and notice the steps that allow us to get into the compartment. And I also appreciate how on both side decks we have protection overhead. Now let's get underway and take a look at the test numbers.
As we prepared to get underway, I chose the flying bridge station for its elevated vantage point of both sides as we had some tight confines to deal with. It was a good test of how well dialed in the joysticks were to this installation, as I was able to achieve exacting precision through this narrow berth. And I love being able to do a test down this narrow wandering river, as it gives more opportunities to show how maneuverable a large yacht can be in tight areas, especially with large yachts to either side to highlight any deficiencies, of which our Bravo 72 showed none of. In fact, she was extremely well mannered, and slow speed maneuverability was exceptional. If there was ever an owner-operator's boat that was forgiving, this is it. And soon enough, we found ourselves in open water. The Cheoy Lee Bravo 72 has a length overall of 72 feet, a beam of 19 feet 10 inches, and a draft of 5 feet. With an empty weight of 85,218 pounds, 76% fuel, and 6 people on board, we had an estimated test weight of 92,690 pounds. With a pair of 800 horsepower Volvo Penta IPS 1050 pod drive engines turning at 2300 RPM, we reached our top speed of 27.3 knots. Her performance envelope is rather linear, so there's no best cruise per se, but we found our hand naturally gravitating to around 2000 RPM and 22 knots. It was at that speed that her combined 56 gallon-per-hour fuel burn translated into 0.4 nautical miles per gallon and a range of 372 nautical miles, all while still holding back a 10% reserve of the boat's 1,050-gallon total fuel capacity. As is always the case, our test was conducted in relatively calm seas, showing no adverse effects or handling characteristics whatsoever. When it came time to return to the dock, I chose the lower station as we were backing into a slip and I needed the visibility of the entire stern. Just small pulses to get the Bravo 72 moving is all it takes. Then use pulses to direct that momentum and steer her into the direction you want her to go in. It's not so much of a driver-in scenario, but a control the movements thing. She's really responsive, so just a light touch is all it takes.
Well, clearly, with the IPS providing joystick functionality, we've got ease of operation that any owner-operator will appreciate. And that is my full sea trial of the Bravo 72 from Cheoy. For BoatTest.com, I'm Captain Steve. We'll see you on the water.